Somewhere in Northern California in the late 1960s, a killer was loose. Not just any killer. One who wanted you to know about it. One who needed you to know. He didn't hide. He announced himself. He mailed letters to newspaper editors, handwritten, taunting, dripping with arrogance. He gave himself a name. He called himself the Zodiac. And for more than 5 decades, no one has ever proven who he really was. This is the story of America's most haunting unsolved murder case. A case that consumed detectives, broke families, and left a wound in the American psyche that has never fully healed. It began on a summer night, December 20th, 1968. A quiet road called Lake Herman Road near Vallejo, California. 2 teenagers, David Faraday, 17 years old, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, were parked near a gate in the darkness, the way teenagers do. They never made it home. David was shot once in the head. Betty Lou was found 30 feet from the car, shot 5 times in the back as she tried to run. She didn't make it 10 steps. The police had nothing, no witnesses, no motive, no suspect. Just 2 young lives, extinguished on the side of a road on the last Friday before Christmas. 7 months passed. Then on July 4th, 1969, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau were parked at Blue Rock Springs Park, just a few miles from the first crime scene. A car pulled up behind them, idled for a moment, then drove away. They relaxed. Then it came back. A figure got out. He approached with a flashlight and opened fire. Michael survived, barely. Darlene did not. Within an hour of the shooting, a man called the Vallejo Police Department. His voice was calm, disturbingly calm. He told the dispatcher he wanted to report a murder. He gave the location. Then he said something that made the dispatcher's blood run cold. He claimed responsibility for the killing at Lake Herman Road the previous December, too. He hung up before anyone could trace the call. The Zodiac had introduced himself. 3 weeks later, on August 1st, 1969, 3 Bay Area newspapers, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald, each received a letter. They were almost identical, rambling, confident, threatening, and attached to each one was a third of a 408 symbol cryptogram, a coded cipher that the killer claimed, if solved, would reveal his identity. He demanded the newspapers print the ciphers on their front pages. If they didn't, he said, he would go on a killing rampage. He would kill 12 people over the weekend. The editors printed them. Within a week, a high school teacher named Donald Harden and his wife Betty cracked the cipher. What it revealed was not a name. It was a manifesto. The killer wrote that he was collecting slaves for the afterlife. That killing gave him the most thrilling thing he had ever experienced. The decoded message ended with a section that was never solved. 8 symbols that have never been cracked to this day. The Zodiac was playing a game, and he was winning. Then came Napa Valley, September 27, 1969. Lake Berryessa, a remote, sun-bleached reservoir surrounded by hills. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were college students, picnicking on a small peninsula near the water. A stranger approached wearing a black hood, a bizarre executioner-style hood with a white symbol sewn on the chest, a cross inside a circle, the Zodiac's signature. He tied them up. He talked to them, calmly, almost gently. He told them he was an escaped convict who needed their car to drive to Mexico. Then he produced a knife and stabbed them both, Cecilia 13 times, Brian 6 times. He left them for dead and walked to their car. On the door of the vehicle, he used a felt-tip pen to draw that same cross inside circle symbol. Beneath it, he wrote 3 dates and the words, "By knife." Cecilia Shepard died 2 days later. Brian survived. The killer called the police from a payphone to report the attack himself. Investigators rushed to the booth. His fingerprints were on the phone. And yet, decades of forensic work, advancements in DNA technology, and over 100 serious suspects, none of it was enough to put a name to a face. Less than 2 weeks later, he struck again. This time in San Francisco itself. October 11th, 1969. A cab driver named Paul Stein picked up a fare in the Union Square neighborhood. The passenger directed him to a street corner in Presidio Heights. When the cab stopped, the passenger shot Paul Stein in the head, then calmly wiped down the cab with a piece of fabric, taking a portion of Paul's shirt as a trophy. Teenagers in a nearby house witnessed the scene from a window and called police. Officers were dispatched and passed within feet of the killer as he walked calmly into the Presidio Park. A miscommunication in the police radio call described the suspect as a black male. The officers who encountered a white man on the street let him pass without stopping him. He walked away. 3 days later, the San Francisco Chronicle received another letter. Inside it, a piece of Paul Stein's blood-soaked shirt. Proof. The Zodiac taunted police in the letter, mocking the officers who had let him slip away. He told them they were dumb. He told them he would change his way of killing so it would be harder to find his victims. That letter was also sent to celebrated defense attorney Melvin Belli with a plea, almost childlike, asking for help. He signed it, the Zodiac. The public was terrified. Schools went on lockdown. Parents kept their children home. A city was paralyzed. The letters kept coming. 37 letters in total, most of them to newspapers, some to police, some to private citizens. He kept count. He taunted detectives with clues they couldn't decipher. He claimed victims police could never confirm. At one point, he claimed to have killed 37 people. The confirmed, definitively linked victims, number 5 dead. 2 survived. Each letter arrived stamped with that same logo, the crossed circle, and with pieces of evidence only the killer could possess. Bloody shirt fabric, a victim's driver's license. Details never released to the public. Among the letters was the 340 cipher, mailed in November 1969. It sat unsolved for over 50 years. In December 2020, a team of amateur code breakers, 3 people working across 3 countries, cracked it. It took them months of computational work and pattern recognition. The message inside? More of the same. A grandiose declaration about collecting souls in the afterlife. Still no name. Still no face. Investigators pursued more than 2,500 suspects over the decades. The most famous was Arthur Lee Allen, a convicted sex offender from Vallejo who matched witness descriptions, owned Zodiac-branded equipment, and had the right shoe size to match prints at Lake Berryessa. But DNA recovered from the back of Zodiac's self-addressed envelopes didn't match Allen's. He died in 1992. The case remained open. Other suspects emerged and were ruled out. Composite sketches were refined, reworked, disputed. A man named Gary Francis Post was named as a suspect by a cold case team in 2021, a former Air Force serviceman with scars on his forehead that allegedly matched those in a Zodiac self-portrait sketch. But law enforcement agencies have never officially confirmed or closed the case around any suspect. The Zodiac's last confirmed letter arrived in 1974. After that, silence. Was he caught for another crime and imprisoned? Did he die? Did he simply stop? The answer, to this day, is unknown. What we know is this: 5 confirmed victims, 2 survivors, 4 ciphers, and at least one that has never been solved. A killer who was seen, described, nearly caught, and still vanished like smoke into the California hills. He was never identified, never charged, never held accountable, and somewhere in that silence, the most chilling truth of all sits waiting, that somewhere along the way, the Zodiac may have simply lived out an ordinary life. He may have had neighbors, a job, a family who never knew. He may have died peacefully in a bed while the families of David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, Darlene Ferrin, Cecilia Shepard, and Paul Stein never once stopped looking for answers. The Zodiac told police they would never catch him. After more than 50 years, he may have been right. He,